Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm giving you my TBR for the Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox. This readathon is taking place in August and this is the third or fourth installment in the Magical Readathon Orilium that G from Book Roast is hosting. She started this readathon last year, although it already exists much longer but in a different form. She has invented an entire world just for this readathon and we are all just playing a part in this and it is the most fun. If you want to know more about this readathon, I'll leave the link to G's video down below. But it's basically us attending a magical school, Orilium Academy, and us taking exams, which doesn't sound like fun, but it's a lot of fun. Certain school subjects are connected to certain bookish prompts and you can also choose to go for a certain calling. So I want to become a scribe and that means that I have to gain certain grades in certain subjects. I have to gain an ordinary in elemental studies, which means I have to read one book for that subject. I have to gain a distinguished in inscription, an ordinary in restoration, and a qualified in lore. And in total that is 7 books, and I will go through them right now. The first one, like I said, is I have to gain an ordinary in elemental studies. And the prompt for that is very simple. It is to start a book with a drink. And I was slightly confused about this at first, but I am pretty sure that it simply means that when I'm starting a book, I have to have a drink with it. And that means that I can read pretty much any book for this prompt as long as I have a drink to go along with it. And I decided to somewhat try to stick to the theme. The link is kind of tenuous, but I decided to read Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson. The link here is that when you are in the sunshine, you need to drink a lot of water or you will become dehydrated or get sunstroke. I don't know. It made sense in my head. I'm going to read Rise to the Sun. This is the second book by this author. I read You Should See Me in a Crown, I think last year or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago already. Rise to the Sun is her newest book. It came out last year, I think, and I don't really know that much about it. I think it is about a girl who is going to a music festival. She meets another girl there and it is kind of a love story. It is a YA story, that I know. I borrowed this at the library. I don't borrow books at the library often. In fact, I think the last time I borrowed a book at the library was during my studies, but the last time I borrowed a book at the library for fun was when I was in high school or maybe even before that. I used to go to the library all the time when I was little, but somehow that kind of stopped. I stopped going and now I have a lot of books of my own that I still have to read. But there was one book I wanted to borrow from the library. We'll see it later on in this video. And while I was there, I found this one as well. And I figured I'll take it along with me on holiday because in August, me and my boyfriend are going on holiday as well. So a lot of these books will be coming with me. But this YA LGBT contemporary romance is definitely one I'm very excited to read. I think it will be very feel good. You Should See Me in a Crown was very feel good and I loved it a lot. So I'm reading this one for the first prompt. Next up we have Inscription, and for this I have to get a distinguished. So I have to read 3 books. And the first course for Inscription is Glyph Recollection, and for that I have to read a childhood favorite. And for this I've chosen this beautiful book. It's called The 7 Wijze Prinsessen, which translates to The 7 Wise Princesses, and it's a Persian story from the Middle Ages and written by Wafa Tarnowska. I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'm very sorry. But as a child, I read this book endlessly. I just kept rereading it over and over again, mostly because I was enchanted by the pictures. Every story in this has its own color palette, and even back when I was a child, I was apparently very sensitive to color palettes and I loved them. Like this one is about the Arabian princess and she is all about green, so every illustration in this story has green tones to it. And then the next story is told by the, let's see, by the Russian princess and she has reddish tones to it. I loved that as a child. I kept looking at the pictures, I kept reading the story, and if I remember correctly, it's been a very long time, it is about 7 princesses who all tell a story, so it's stories within a story, to a man, the ruler of a land, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, it's been a long time, but I found this again a few months ago already at my parents' house and I decided to take it with me to reread it because I loved it so much as a child. and then I didn't. And then this prompt came along for the readathon and I figured it was perfect. So I'm going to reread this one and I'm very excited about it. Then for inscription, to get a qualified, I have to follow the course Inkling Techniques, read a graphic novel or a comic or a manga. Which brings us to the next book I came across in the library. I didn't know about this book, but it caught my eye and it seems like a lot of fun. It's called Meg, Jo, Beth and Amy, a graphic novel, and it's obviously based on Little Women. It's a modern retelling of Little Women. I don't know anything about this book, like I said, but I decided to take it with me because I read Little Women for the first time, again last year or the year before, I don't remember, and I really enjoyed it. So this seems like a fun one to read. Also a good one to take with me on holiday. But I also have another option for this, because I also want to reread Sandman Volume 1. I read Sandman Volume 1 a couple of years ago. My boyfriend really likes these. These are graphic novels by Neil Gaiman and multiple illustrators. And my boyfriend really likes these and I wanted to get into them as well. And I read the first volume. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it per se. And then I never kept reading, and I think this is 3 or 4 years ago already. But in August there's a Netflix adaptation of The Sandman coming out, which my boyfriend is really excited for and I definitely want to watch it as well. So this seems like a good time to reread the first volume and then read the next couple of volumes that we own as well. So there's a good chance I'll read both of these graphic novels. Then to get a distinguished in inscription, there is Stilling the Mind, read a cozy read, and for that I've chosen You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. You might remember that I read Book Lovers in June and absolutely adored it. It is one of my favorite books of the year so far. Book Lovers is Emily Henry's most recent book. It came out this year, and You and Me on Vacation came out last year, I think. But I haven't read this one yet and I'm really excited about it, and I've been saving it for our holiday because we'll be on vacation and it'll be fun to read this on vacation. It's a contemporary romance novel and I expect it to be cozy because Book Lovers felt very cozy. It made me very happy. I think that's kind of the definition I maintain for a cozy read, a book that makes me happy. This definitely fits that, I think. There is also another book which I forgot to get off my shelves. Now I have to get up. Oh. Here it is. I also really want to read The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn, which also seems like a very good vacation book and a cozy read. This is also a romance novel. I really want to read this in August as well, but I couldn't fit it on my TBR because You and Me on Vacation took priority because I was really planning to read that on vacation. But who knows, maybe I'll be in a really big reading mood and I'll get this one done as well. I really want to get to it, so we'll see. Next up there is Restoration, and for that I also have to get an ordinary. The course is Object Restoration and the prompt is to read a book with a single object as the focus on the cover. And for this I've chosen Toffee by Sarah Crossan. This book very clearly has a house, a single house, on the cover, so this definitely fits this. I think this might be the only book I have that really fits this prompt, but that's okay because I really want to read this. This is a novel in verse and it is about a girl called Allison. She has run away from home and she has nowhere to live, so she hides in a shed of what she thinks is an abandoned house. But the house isn't empty. There's an old woman living there who is very alone and often is very confused, and she mistakes Allison for a friend from her past called Toffee. So Allison kind of takes on this identity of Toffee, and Toffee is who Allison becomes, and so she builds up a relationship with this old woman, I think, and she begins to ponder the big questions of who am I really, what do I need in life, what does family mean, things like that. It sounds really good. It's been a while since I read a novel in verse, so I'm excited to read this one. And then there's the subject lore, in which I have to get a qualified, so I have to read 2 books for this. The first course is LDS Regional Anthropology, and for that I have to read a book that has colors similar to your country's flag. And for this I have chosen the book that I actually went to the library for, and it is Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. The flag of the Netherlands looks like this, and this book has red, white and a tiny bit of blue, so it fits. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I read earlier this year, I think. And I enjoyed A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I didn't feel the need to actually buy the sequels because it is a trilogy. I do want to read the next book and the book after this, hopefully, depending on how much I like this one, because I did think it was a very enjoyable read, but I didn't love it so much that I want to own the books, so that's why I went to the bookstore, to the library. I mean, the main character of these books is Pip, and Pip is a wannabe detective. In the first book, she decides to, for a school project, dive into a cold case of a murder or a disappearance that happened in her town, and she decides that she wants to solve that murder. And that was the first book. It was very exciting. I really liked it a lot. So now I want to read the second book, and it is still about Pip. She has a true crime podcast about the murder case she solved last year, and it has gone viral, but she has decided that her investigating days are behind her. However, she will have to go back on her word when someone close to her goes missing and the police can't do anything about it. That sounds like another exciting read, so I'm very glad that I was able to fit this one on my TBR for the Magical Readathon. And then there's one more prompt, and that is to get the qualified in lore. And the course is Myth of Sildoris, and the prompt is a story featuring a betrayal. And I found this to be a bit of a difficult prompt, because these kind of prompts are kind of hard to pick a book for if you don't know exactly what the book is about, because a lot of books feature betrayal. Betrayal is a big theme in many books, but how do you know before reading it unless it's the main storyline of a book that you know about because you've read the back? But then I went looking on the internet for stories about betrayal. There were a couple that turned up frequently, like a Game of Thrones, but I'm definitely not reading a Game of Thrones for this readathon. But I also came across I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, which is a book that has been on my TBR for a while. So I decided to go with that one. I don't know what the betrayal is. I'll probably find out when I read it. I actually don't know much about this book. I got it as a birthday present a couple of years ago. I think it's really pretty. This color is one of my favorite colors. It's so beautiful. I think it's about two siblings, Jude and Noah. Oh, they're twins actually. And they are very close until a tragedy drives them apart. Now they are barely speaking, and both are falling for boys they can't have. So that's all I know about this book. Maybe the betrayal is something that happened between Jude and Noah. Who knows? I'm looking forward to finally reading this. This is a book that I don't think I would have put on my TBR by myself, but because I got it as a birthday present and it did seem interesting to me, it's now on my shelves and it's on my TBR. And like I said, I'm looking forward to it. And that's my TBR for the Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox. I'm really looking forward to this readathon. It kind of came a little bit out of the blue for me. I knew that it was probably happening in August, but I kind of forgot about it. And because of our holiday, I don't know how much reading I will get done. It might be a holiday in which a lot of reading gets done, or maybe we'll just do a lot of stuff and there won't be a lot of time for reading. I don't know yet. So I probably also won't be participating very actively in the community aspects of this readathon like I have done before. If you're participating in a Magical Readathon, I'd love to know what you're reading. Please tell me down below, or if you're doing anything else in August, if you're planning on reading anything else, please let me know as well. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me in the future, and have a wonderful day. Bye!